So yeah, I'm Sean McKeever. I'm a program manager at Grimm. Get into that here. I'm known as Dork Vader on Twitter, and formerly I was a cybersecurity architect for a very large automotive OEM. I'm a parent to two children and one very grumpy cat, and got a couple of my projects here on display. This little beast on the stairs is one of my robocars, and then down below it is a very rudimentary CAN bus bench that I built for the Hack for Kids Village at DEF CON in 2019. So you can see me over here at DEF CON a couple of years ago. I have not been out in public like that in quite some time, unfortunately, but I hope to get back to it. So teaching kids to hack, I'm going to start off with some ethics, with a nod to Tom, who reminded me I should probably put that in, and then we'll go through a few whys and hows and whatnot. Also, there will be cats on nearly every slide, so I hope you enjoy cat pictures. Um, so the ethics, kids are going to replicate and elaborate on their own. So, when you're teaching them things outside of a lab or a classroom, they're going to try to replicate that stuff. So, don't teach them how to pop shells until, your audience really understands the gravity of that situation and the law. I'm fortunate in that I grew up in an age where it was really difficult to get to other people's stuff. So I had free reign to do whatever I wanted on the computers I had my hands on. But not everybody has that luxury anymore. And 1 second, I have a physical interrupt here. Um, we got an Oculus for Christmas, so that's a hot commodity right now. I apologize. So yeah, like I said, I had a lot of freedom when I was learning how to break things because I was isolated. But all of our computers and electronic devices these days are connected, so make sure you're really explaining that, and that the people you're teaching, be they children or adults, understand the ramifications of what they're learning how to do. So teaching kids to hack, when I first started putting this together, like, well, we have all these skill shortages and everything and all these headlines, and but really that's not my motivation here. If this isn't a true saying, I kind of made this up to summarize a couple sayings, but in like kung fu, the student isn't really a master until they have their own students. And I see that in just every day in what I do. I learn three ways. I learn by reading stuff, by doing those things, but then when I really solidify it is when I teach someone else to do it. I'll give you an example. I have taught myself Python 3, maybe 4 times now, and I still can't really do it very well because I don't use it every day. But if I were to set out and build out, a class for some high school students or some middle school students using, say an Adafruit Circuit Playground, and taught them Python, I would have to force myself to really know it better than I do today, and really ingest the material and use it in a meaningful way. Then I would feel comfortable that, yes, I can program in Python. So I've done that with pretty much anything I've really mastered. I've really come to that mastery through teaching it to someone else. And why kids? Well, they're fun. I'm a parent, so I might be biased, but playing with kids is a fun way to do things, and seeing the their skills develop and grow is a lot more fun and rewarding, I find, than just getting up and giving a conference talk. Not to write conference talks at all. I'm giving one right now, but I really enjoy that feedback and seeing that develop in kids. So we're gonna do it. One of the tips and one of the things that I find really useful when I'm trying to engage is you've got 10 minutes and sometimes less depending on the age of your audience. But if you can't get them hooked in 10 minutes, no amount of cat pictures is going to keep them engaged in what you're doing. You know, I brought visual aids because I have them. So, you know, if I stood up in front of a classroom with this and said, okay, kids, today we're going to teach you about CAN bus networking and how vehicle computers talk to each other over that network. But, you know, by the time I finish that sentence, they'd all be bored. But if I told them today we're going to drive this monster truck into each other from a text prompt, and I'm going to teach you guys how that works, I've got a better chance of keeping them engaged. And I have done that in real life. It's also more fun if it's a kinetic thing and you can make yourself the target, because then they can chase you around and try and trip you or try and smash you in the ankles. And to that end, starting at the end, you know, give them the demo first instead of just, you know, showing them the car. Show them the car driving around and explain as you go. Or if I've seen a talk with a lock-picking robot, and you know, it was a 35-40-minute talk at DEF CON about how they built this robot and everything to pick safes. And then they gave the demo. Well, that's great at DEF CON because you're in a room full of people who are invested and interested in what you're doing. But if you do that to, you know, a group of middle school students, they're going to be bored 15 minutes in. So start with the robot and work backwards. Give them the demo of the robot picking the safe first, and then step through how you got to that and explain it as you go. And one of the things I always focus on is trying to build curiosity, not expertise. The stuff I'm teaching today, by the time they get through, you know, high school and college and get into the workforce, is not necessarily going to be relevant anymore. But building that curiosity and trying to spark that inspiration that's going to move them on to do bigger and better things is really the true value in something like this. But, you know, expect that they're going to understand what you're talking about. You know, kids are a lot smarter than anybody realizes. I've seen this with myself. One of my boys built a game in Roblox yesterday and put legal disclaimers on it that it was entertainment only. I would have never, you know, considered that something that he would need to do, but he, you know, it's something that he just picked up on his own through experiencing other games and scenarios like that. And along those lines, you know, kids are honest. The nice thing about being in front of a room full of kids is, you know, when you're bombing, right? You're not going to have to guess. You're not going to have to deal with, you know, politeness. You're going to know when you're missing your mark. You know, it's like I like to call it a self-tuning exercise. You can tell when they're no longer engaged and what content isn't working. So being able to, you know, it trains you to think on your feet and improvise and pivot quickly. But just like any other audience, they want to get something out of it, right? I also have done improv comedy as a thing. And one of the things they taught us in our intro class was, you know, the audience wants to see you succeed. They're not showing up to pick on you or make you feel bad. So, you know, trust that and let them enjoy your success. Kids are the same way, right? They're just like any other person. They don't want to show up for failure. They want to see you do well. Some other things that I've had happen to me firsthand. They're going to break things, often in ways you don't expect them to. You know, you can plan your class or your demo and replay it 100 times, but as soon as you put it in the, you know, put it in the hands of 40 kids, they're going to do things you didn't think of. And you know, that's part of the learning for everybody. And you know, it's honestly one of the most fun parts of it. As well, along those lines, some of them are gonna pick it up a lot faster than you or in a different way than you did. And you know, that's again another learning opportunity for you as the person running the course, as well as you know, the kids taking it. And finally, they're going to question everything, but also sometimes nothing. It's really hard to anticipate what's going to come out of it. So, keeping an open mind and being flexible while you're working through your project or your goals with them is, a very rewarding thing. It's helped me be better at defining, say, requirements in my real job, because I can you can kind of put yourself in that mindset of, well, what am I not thinking of? What would somebody who's not looking at this every day, what would they ask? So I've kind of sprinkled this throughout, but how does this make you a better hacker? Um, this one is not a cat pick, but I think it summarizes it well. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball, right? If you can teach a room full of middle school students how to drive a car with CAN bus injection, then you can sit down with a C-level executive, explain to them why allowing CAN bus injection on their vehicle is a bad idea, right? You've tuned that tool set to be able to break a complex, nuanced topic down into bite-sized speaking points. It's also helped change my perspective on things, right? I, at least personally, tend to overcomplicate stuff, especially when I'm trying to troubleshoot something. But exposing myself to the thought processes of a less burdened mind, I'll say, somebody who isn't also thinking about, I got to pick up dinner tonight, and did I pack everything for lunch, and do the kids have clean laundry tomorrow? They can focus in on the details and be in the moment a lot easier than I can. And, training myself to recognize that and use that in my day-to-day work, this has been really helpful. And, as I said earlier, the same skills work with all audiences, versus explaining it to a manager or somebody else in the business who has nothing to do with security or the product, but has to fix a problem that's been identified. Being able to explain it to them in a way that is pertinent to their skill set and what they need to be able to do is very useful, especially in a cybersecurity role where you're often seen as the bad guy or the traffic cop or the enforcer who just makes everybody's day bad when they show up to the meeting. And finally, I know Tillery mentioned this, but kids are more fun than Toastmasters, at least in my opinion. I don't mind speaking in front of an audience. I kind of enjoy it, but working with kids is much more like play than, getting up and just giving a presentation to my team. Not that I don't enjoy talking to my team, I do very much, but it's expected that you're going to play when you're working with kids, and I really enjoy that. It's not something that you always get to do in adult life as much as maybe we should. So this is probably the busiest slide in my presentation, but getting started. So first of all, you got to have something to share, right? And the way I like to look at it is, do I have something existing, like say, this guy right here, that needs something? This has got LiDAR on it. This LiDAR doesn't work. Well, if I set up a plan to, I'm going to teach a high school first robotics team how LiDAR works, I have to get it working. And now I have a deadline. And now I'm going to, commit to figuring out the Python library and figuring out how to reverse engineer the code for the LiDAR into my existing code base to drive the car. And I find that's the most effective way for me to get non-work things accomplished, is having a driver to accomplishing that. Or like I said earlier, do I want to learn something new, like Python or cloud encryption, or something that I don't do every day, but I want to make sure that I solidify that in my brain. Or something that fills a specific need. When the first COVID lockdowns happened, I put together a presentation for my local school district on internet security, because you suddenly had teachers and school administrators and parents and kids all using the internet a lot more than they did every day. And a lot of parents were really concerned about making sure their kids were, not getting into things they shouldn't be getting into and whatnot. So I put together a presentation for the school district on some things parents, teachers, and the kids could do to make sure that they're trying to be a little safer online. With just a huge rollout of technology without a lot of planning, it's kind of a perfect storm for mistakes. So once you have a topic or something that you want to share, you need to build content or use something that already exists. So I've listed off a couple things here. I love the Adafruit products. They've got a lot of educational bent to them and a lot of pre-built projects that are easy to adapt into a classroom environment. Most of them are dynamic or kinetic or a combination of all of that, which is really engaging, especially with younger kids who want to see that real world result of what they're doing hands-on. One of the things one of my kids is really into right now is Scratch and building out, programming through that visually. There's also along the same lines the Osmo system. Minecraft is great. There's a lot of YouTube resources on modifying it or hacking your own Minecraft server. And kids like Minecraft, not as much as they used to, but still it's something tangible that they can relate to. And then more hacker bent stuff, the Hack for Kids workshops that are at a lot of hacker conferences. I haven't directly participated in them. I did build a bench for one at DEF CON a couple of years ago, but was unfortunately not able to also participate in that. And CTFs, I've got some listed over on the right side of my slide here. But again, that falls into the ethics area. Make sure that you know your audience and that you're putting proper guardrails in so they're using what they're learning appropriately and not getting into trouble later. Next, you need an audience. And there's a lot of different ways you could go about it. Schools are always looking for parents or members of the community who want to be engaged and involved in helping put stuff together. I put clubs because it's kind of a loosely defined thing. By clubs, I mean like First Robotics or, a Scouts program or, a church group or anything you're affiliated with that, has kids involved. And also maker spaces. There's a great one down the street from me, I3 Detroit, and they're always trying to engage with the community to bring more people into the space, because the more members they have, the more resources they have to build new stuff. So, and along those lines, they also already have a lot of resources that you can leverage to put this stuff together. I don't have room in my house for a 3D printer, but the makerspace has 4, so if I want to do a thing on 3D printing and stuff, they have the room for that stuff. And then finally, you gotta just do the thing. Get a group together, work through it, iterate it, and have fun with it. So touched on it a little bit, but some resources, like I said, hackforkids.com, Adafruit. The Cyber Patriot program is a good one for high school students, along with Pico CTF from Carnegie Mellon. Hackthebox.com, a little more advanced stuff. I really like the Sans holiday hack, although every year I sign up and then the holidays actually happen and I don't really get to it. But one of these days I really want to. If you've got some younger kids, the KiwiCo crates are pretty good with varying levels of what you can do there. And then I plugged First Robotics. I plug them a lot because they also helped build these things, actually. Some of the hardware in here is direct from robots used in the First Robotics competitions. And so without that existing, my little robocars here probably wouldn't work as well as they do. And I did get to work with the team at my former employer. The team they sponsored, they helped build these things with us and give us ideas for ways we could make them better. Then Code Wizards, HQ, and Udemy.com. Those were just things I Googled up. I don't have firsthand experience with them, but they do have some courseware there for kids. So I'm a little faster than I plan to be, but that's those are my slides. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for giving me a chance to talk here. And yeah.